Today, I'm going to talk about the malignant narcissist's motives in court. Now, a malignant narcissist, as you know, I've been talking about the different types of narcissism. The thing that's different about a malignant narcissist is really just zero empathy, right? Like, I think every type of narcissism obviously lacks empathy to a certain point, but malignant really has like zilcho, none, right? And they usually tend towards antisocial personality disorder traits. And so this one is really kind of the more severe level. So I'm going to dive into that. But before I do, let me just remind you, if you like the content and find it helpful, don't forget to hit like on this video. Also subscribe to the channel so that you get notified as new videos are released. And as always, please feel free to share this with anybody that you know of that is struggling with these kinds of issues. So malignant narcissists really truly have a scorched earth policy, right? They're so bad that they like don't even know they have issues. Like, I think that's true of narcissists in general, but this is like so extreme. It's just like a complete and utter scorched earth. I don't care. I don't care about you. I don't care about anybody, type of mentality. It's not even like the overt where they're at least trying to be charming or trying to appear a certain way, or a covert who's kind of worried about their image and all those kind of things. Malignant has none of that, right? They are unapologetically just don't care about any of it. Now, the thing that this helps you with in court is that this person is actually the most likely to be found out, right? This is the type of narcissist that I think in some ways is the easiest for the court to recognize. And again, like I've talked about before, like court doesn't really care about diagnoses. They're not psychiatrists. They're not psychologists, just like I'm not. And they're not trying to diagnose anybody or put a label on them. They don't really care about that. What they do see is patterns of behavior. That's really what they're primarily looking for. And so when you have this type of malignant narcissist, usually what happens is they're just so unabashedly behaving however they want to behave without consideration to anyone or anything else, that over time, the court starts to pick up on that pattern of behavior because they a lot of times don't think court orders apply to them. They think they're above, all of it. They think they get to dictate to you what's happening. They're very aggressive and bullying, usually in their communication and things. And they're just like, it's my way or the highway. You need to do what I say or else. And over time, that does not play well in court. Usually what will happen over time is that person will be exposed in one form or another. Now, how does that happen? Well, I think the first thing that happens is you remain calm. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes I see out of people that are dealing with somebody who is the extreme malignant version like this, because for you've been living with this and dealing with this for so long that it's so obvious. And you just think, how can the court not see this? Like, this comes through in everything this person does. They can't keep a job. It comes through at work. It comes through on all these different levels. They don't have friends. They don't have, whatever. And you're thinking, how can the court not see this? It's so extreme. The problem is that the court's just now coming into the situation. So I think that what happens is the person in our position that's dealing with this malignant narcissist is just desperate for the court to see it and know. And we just want to go in and say, okay, here's a list of all the things. Look at how they are. Here's how they treat me. Here's what they do. Here's all the stuff, court. Okay, fix it. Right? Or we become really hysterical and think, how can you not see this? Why are you not understanding? This is all the things this person has done to me. Okay. And it is really frustrating because that part is true. We have been through a lot of that abusive behavior from that person. But the problem is you have to give the court time to see it for themselves and to see what it is. You can't go in with your agenda and have this list of all the things that are problematic with the other person and ask the court to just fix those things for you. What the court has to do is come in and kind of wrap their head around, so to speak, what's happening in this case, do their process, let the parties present information and do all those things, because even if your ex is the biggest jerk on the planet, they're still entitled to a certain amount of due process, right? As we all are. So they're entitled to present their information and go through their things. And the key for you is to not get hysterical, not get reactive, and not try to push your agenda. Because then what happens for the court is, look, I've got this really aggressive, malignant, narcissistic person coming through, right? But then the other person is equally aggressive from kind of a hysterical perspective. And then all the court sees is, I've got these two really aggressive people that are fighting and having this really high level of conflict. It makes you appear just as difficult as them because you're kind of responding in kind and meeting that same emotional level that the malignant narcissist has. And I think that's probably one of the biggest mistakes that I see in people dealing with this kind of person. So what you have to do is, again, focus on patterns of behavior. Focus on how those patterns of behavior affect the children. Focus on controlling your own conduct, your own communication. And then what happens is, as you start to come across to the court as calm and reasonable and focused on the children and all the things that you need to be, then their aggressiveness and their way of being becomes kind of almost magnified for the court, right? Because when somebody's being super loud and the other person's being super loud, everybody's just being loud and obnoxious, right? But if one person's being really loud and obnoxious in this kind of malignant, aggressive kind of way, and you can back down from that and kind of take a more normalized tone, it starts to really expose them for who they are. And it shows the court that, you're doing your best not to be the problem. But I think very frequently in, malignant narcissist, codependent relationships, the codependent often is meeting that aggressiveness on sort of a different plane, like more along the lines with the hysteria and the drama and all of those things. So if you really want the court to be able to see, then you've got to kind of turn down the volume on your part. And look, I'm not saying be passive. I'm not saying don't advocate for yourself, because I think that that's the other danger is people will kind of retract and like not say anything and not put their side out and think, oh, Tammy says I should, not be aggressive or not fight back. I'm not saying that. I'm saying fight back in the appropriate ways, fight back in productive ways, advocate for yourself in calm, focused, productive ways that the court's actually going to be able to hear. Because honestly, when you both stand up there and you're both kind of having this intense like attack match back and forth, honestly, I find the court ignores a lot of it because it's just like, oh my gosh, why can't these two people get along, right? That's kind of what happens for the court. When you can kind of dial that back, like I said, it puts more of the focus on the other person, but you don't want to retreat so far that you're like not advocating for yourself, right? You want to be able to say, here's the issues, here's the patterns of behavior, here's how this impacts the child, here's what I'm dealing with, here's what I'm facing, and be able to give a handful of examples of each of those things. So I'm kind of saying, don't fight fire with fire. Fight the fire, but don't fight it with fire. Fight it with a blanket or something that's actually going to put it out, right? Fighting fire with fire is only going to make a bigger fire. And that's the danger, because most of the time, if we're involved with a malignant narcissist, we probably have a pretty aggressive personality ourselves, or we wouldn't even be able to hold our own at all with this person, right? And again, not 100% of the time. Sometimes people are kind of the more quiet wallflower type of people. But I find more times than not, when we're hitting the point of this level of conflict, maybe we didn't start out being this aggressive, but we've sort of learned to reach that level of aggressiveness because of trying to hold our own in the relationship. So then when we go into custody court, we're really to that point where we're just trying to, like I said, fight fire with fire and hold our own. But that's a bad approach because everybody gets burned, right? So I want you to learn how to do this in a calm, productive manner so that the court can actually hear your concerns that are going on in your custody case. If you'd like to learn more about how to deal with all these different types of narcissists in custody court, you can go to divorceuniversityonline.com group.com/VIP-coaching. There's a link on that page where you can learn more about my group coaching programs for moms and for dads. And you can learn about my premium VIP one-on-one services if you have a more complex case or you feel like you just want that really high level of support and hand-holding at this stage of what you're dealing with. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you guys next time.